Well, good evening. Welcome to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandy. Thanks for stopping in. And Brenda Hunt is here. Hello, Brenda. How are ya? And I'm sure lots of people will just be popping in as it goes. Actually, my computer was like a minute early from what my watch said. So that was crazy interesting. And Ann is here. Ann, girl, how are ya? I will see you on Thursday. Ann and I are part of Around the Hay Bale, and we start our new recordings of our episodes for our podcast on Thursday. Very exciting. But today we're going to talk about, can you grow everything you need? Can you? That I really had to think about that. My first thought was no. I live in a suburban lot, though my lot is large. I have to say that. And Henry Leslie Vermont is here. Hello. And so when I thought about the question, can you grow everything you need? Can you sustain some animals? Can you do this? And it was like I really thought, no, I couldn't do it. But then I got to thinking in a little bit different light. And I thought maybe we could talk about that tonight. Julie, hello. How are you? Now, when we think about growing all that we need, we usually think, well, yes, we can grow fruits and berries and maybe even nuts. You might have some nut trees. You could grow your vegetables. You could even grow some herbs. We think about that's pretty possible on a homestead, that we could do that. Oh, Ann says, well, maybe, but things like coffee and sugar or such, maybe not. Okay, well, let's take that first. So, Ann doesn't think she can live without coffee. A lot of people can't think they can't live without coffee. Angie, hello. Julie says you can grow sugarcane. That's true. You could grow stevia for your sweetener. You could have honeybees for your sweetness. So what about coffee? Could you grow coffee, Ann? You could. You could grow coffee plants in pots. So even if you lived where it was cold, you could move them inside. Ann says, the world needs me to have coffee. You could grow your own. You could roast your own. So that's interesting. Now, if you had any amount of a homestead, you could have chickens or quails or ducks or geese, so that you had to have meat or eggs. If you had a larger homestead, you could have cows and pigs and larger animals, goats, sheep, things like that. Angie says she can grow coffee hydroponically, she thinks. Julie says, I do grow stevia. It's doing rather well. I can't grow that much coffee, though. So, and maybe we'll give you that it would be difficult to do the coffee. Though throughout history, people have used other things as a coffee substitute. But we'll put coffee over to the side and say, okay, maybe that is something we cannot grow. Henry Leslie Vermont says, honey and maple make for good sweeteners too. That is true. Ann's grown stevia, so she has that, and honey is a great idea. And then she says, sorry, laughing. No, this is a good discussion, because the reason why when I first thought of it, I thought, no, I couldn't because of grains. Because I do like bread. What could I do instead of breads? Or could I grow something that isn't what we would consider what we would make flour, but actually we could make into flour? Oh, yeah, see, this is an option too. Maybe mushroom coffee. I think it was called chicory, that they would roast the roots and grind it and make it into a coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. And so, oh, Julie says I never had chicory root coffee, but I don't think it has caffeine. Yeah, see, I don't know. See, I don't drink coffee at all. Joe is a coffee drinker. But, I mean, there's a lot of things to drink. But Anne needs her coffee. And so, coffee we're going to put on that side of the board. But what could you do besides growing wheat? A lot of us don't have room to grow fields of wheat or something that we could make flour out of. Now, here's an idea from Angie. You can make zucchini flour. In fact, my Thursday video up on my board is zucchini flour. So this is going in the dehydrator. And on Thursday, I'm going to show you the whole process, even grinding it up to make zucchini flour. So that is an option. Honestly, almost every vegetable can be dried, dehydrated, and ground up into flour, which I find just fascinating. You know, you could have, like, a lot of times people will save the tops of their carrots, the green part, and dry that and grind it up for flour. But you could actually use the whole root. Dry it, grind it. Now, sometimes people call those fruit powders or vegetable powders, but a lot of them can be used for flours. Julie says, many places in the world that can't grow grains eat potatoes for their starch. And potatoes is one of those ones, sweet or regular, that you can dry, grind up, and use as a flour. Now, most of the vegetable flours that you make, they don't rise like, it's not going to rise like bread that you're thinking about. It's going to be more like flatbreads, which I like flatbreads. Oh, Angie says that chicory doesn't have caffeine. And so Anne probably won't like that because she wants her caffeine. And that's okay. But, you know, sometimes we don't think about, say, you grow cabbage, and like I like to save the outside leaves unless they're damaged. I like to chop them up and put them in the freezer. And then I'll throw those in soups and stuff like that because I like to make sauerkrauts or coleslaw, kimchi, different things with my cabbage. But those outside leaves, why not dehydrate them, grind them up, and use them as a flour? Now, you could use your vegetable flours just by themselves, or you could do a mixture in with your regular flour. Yep, they're gluten-free, so no rise. Yeah, lots of different wild things, grains are gluten-free. And I find that interesting. You know, so what else could you use? So I went out, I usually cut down my docks, like a curly dock or yellow dock. You can eat the leaves when they're real small. You can put them in salads, but then it shoots up with that big flower, makes the seeds, dries, and it's really dark purplish brown, right? It looks like this. So I did not cut these down this time because I have been reading some articles that you can roast these, you can grind them. You don't have to take the outside off of them. You can eat it just like it is. You just grind it up because on these little seeds, there's a kind of a papery coating, but that would be like way too much to take that off. So in the articles I read, it just said to make, you know, if they're not all the way dried, dry them, and then you can just grind them up. And I thought, how interesting is that? But, you know, I've made a lot of vegetable powders or fruit powders that I've added into, casseroles or soups that I'm making, from tomatoes to zucchini to squashes to beans. But a lot of people grind up dried beans and use that as flour around the world. A lot of people do it with herbs. I was just really interested that you could forage a lot of different places Now, always make sure if you're foraging that one, it hasn't been sprayed. So you're usually better off not harvesting anything from ditchways, where the ditch comes down by the roads, because a lot of times they spray and you don't want anything like that. But I was looking up things like wild rice, wild rye, lamb's quarter. Like lamb's quarter, people before spinach was popular, they added those leaves into their salads. But it always makes a stalk. And when the flour is dry, there's a little black seed in there, and that can be ground up. So there's a lot of things that we can use right in our neighborhood as a substitution for flour. And so I was doing a lot of research, and I think I'm going to do some videos of foraging and grinding, drying and grinding up. Like I have access to like birch trees, not too far from me. We have a lot of aspens right by me, but birch trees, you know how you can peel that outside bark off? And a lot of people, they make baskets with them. They do all kinds of stuff with that bark. Well, that inner bark, that cambium layer, can be dried and ground up, just like pine tree, that cambium layer inside that bark, that hard bark, there's a cambium layer, and that also can be dried and ground up. There's a lot of stories like during World War I and II, people were starving. And you hear that they were eating parts of pine trees. But that's what they were doing. They were literally drying it, making bread so that they had something to eat. What about grass seeds? Now, you can't dry the grass and grind it up. Your body can't digest grass. That's why I'm always surprised when people buy wheatgrass or wheatgrass smoothies. Your body doesn't actually digest that. It's just going through. That's all there is to it. It's just going through. But the seeds on grasses, like barnyard grass or ryegrass, crabgrass. Like people hate crabgrass in their lawn. It never wants to go away. But those seeds can make fabulous flour. So I think it just depends on what you want to do. And Julie's right. Grass seeds. Some of it we buy right in the store. And we never even think about that. Down in Arizona, where we go for the winter time, they have what they call these mesquite trees. And they make these, they're like a long bean that comes down. They're in the legume family, only it's a tree instead of a bean, like we see in our garden. And that bean is all edible. The outside, inside is all edible. And so what they would do is that outside shell, they would dry, grind up, and some of the Native Americans down south at certain points in history made that into their bread or a biscuit or a flatbread. And so I thought that was interesting. Hello, garden. The juice of wheat, etc. Grass. So I just thought it was interesting. And then I thought, how many things have I grown in my yard that I could have made flour that I never really even thought about? Like for several years, I grew Jerusalem artichokes. And you can eat that rhizome, that's underneath there, right? It's kind of like potato. But a lot of people around the world dry that, grind it up, and then they make it with their bread. I just thought that was interesting. Now, for me, it's not just flour that I would miss. Because I do love bread. It's terrible, but I do. I'll admit it. I'm a bread lover. And it doesn't matter if it's flat or it's risen or it's a biscuit. I just like bread. I just find it homey, I guess. I like that whole idea of baking bread. And so that would be a thing that for the most part, when I was first thinking, I couldn't have. But the more you look around, it is. Well, thanks, Garden. And Diana is here too. I finally made it to a live show again. So, I live in a suburban homesteader. I'm a suburban homesteader. So, I live in town. We live on about a third of an acre. So, it's a fairly large lot. Most of it in the back goes up a hill. So, I have my fruits, I have my berries, I have some hazelnuts and acorns, oak trees. The oak trees are too small. I don't get anything yet, but eventually. I grow my vegetables, my herbs. We can have 5 chickens, no roosters. I could have quail if I wanted to. I can't have ducks though, or geese. But with the chickens especially, that's my supply of eggs. With 5 chickens, that is plenty enough for Joe and I to have all that we need each week. So that's okay. I can't have cows or pigs or anything like that. Sheep, lambs, I can't have anything like that. But other people can. There's cities that allow pigs. You know, you can have 1 pig in your backyard. So you just have to know where you live, what you can do, so that you can grow everything that you need. Julie says, I just bought 2 pounds of yeast. Better be able to get wheat flour. No, I'm not saying that we're not going to be able to get stuff. I'm not, I don't like living in fear. I don't like that idea. I have a good stocked pantry because that I want to have. I think that it's important to be wise in all that you do. But the whole idea of this live stream was, what can you put in your yard? What could you grow in an apartment? Like Angie and I have hydroponics. Anybody could have that in their apartment, and you can grow a lot of food in those hydroponics. Oh, Garden is from the Scottish Highlands. That is so exciting. Thank you for coming in. That just made my day. Everybody knows, all my friends know, I want to go to Wales. My mom's family is from Wales, and I want to go there someday. Anne says, we have 4 chickens now and have plenty of eggs. See, that's awesome. And certain times of the year, your chickens are going to lay more eggs than what you probably need. But there's a lot of ways to preserve your eggs so that you always have eggs. Garden, thank you very much. Saved up your channel. Thank you. Good. Julie and everybody's saying hi to you. Diana says, my husband loved the apple garlic jam. Had it on a roast. Thank you again. Diana had my jar of, I had made apple garlic jam. It is so good. Everybody should make apple garlic jam. You can put it on meats. You can put it with your hash browns. You can, I literally have put it on sandwiches. I put it on all kinds of stuff. Henry Leslie Vermont, the smell of homemade bread baking in the winter is awesome. Oh my gosh. It is just like, Joe loves it. Like, he'll be out shoveling snow and I'll be making bread and he'll say, I could smell it outside. Okay. I'm going to tell you guys something I haven't told anybody yet, because I figure I would tell somebody on my live stream. Now, Anne and a few people know. Angie knows. When we have spent 6 months in Wyoming and 6 months in Arizona ever since Joe retired. So this would be our 5th season of doing that. But this year we are going down in October, and we're going to sell our house down there. So we will be back to Wyoming winters, which I can't even tell you I'm so excited about. So I just thought I'd let you guys know. You know first before the rest of everybody does. Food as medicine. This is true. I think it was maybe Plato that said, something about let your food be medicine and your medicine be food, something like that. I wish I would have looked that up before tonight. But I have always thought the more healthy, better food you ate, the healthier you would be. Grow your own stuff so that you know what's in that food. You know your soil, you know anything you put or didn't put on your soil, on your vegetables in your soil. So that is great, healthy. My parents are still snowbirds. I told them last night. I had planned on telling them a couple other times, and they have had issues with their phone. And last night it was clear, and and my mom just says, "Oh, okay." I was like, "All right." But they are still going to be snowbirds, and I told them I missed the seasons. I missed seeing my grandchildren on holidays, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. You just got to do what you have to do for yourself and your family. And that was what I needed to do. Angie says, will you go back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming and drop the A? Yeah, because usually it says Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, WY-AZ. And then my little thing up in the corner that you can see. Yeah, and I'll have to, the Vineyard Chicks made that little icon that you see in the top right corner, I think you would see it in. And so I might have to ask the girls if they would make me a different one. But sometimes in your life, you just got to decide what you want to do. Okay, what else can you grow in your yard or forage for right around where you are that you might not have thought about? That's true. I probably should have WY, otherwise they might think it's Washington. That's true. Good idea. Thanks, Julie. We have across the street is a school, and next to that is a little pond. Well, that pond has gotten overgrown with cattails. You can harvest the pollen from the cattails in the springtime. You can make cattail pollen pancakes. I have a recipe for it. You can take the rhizomes, dry those, make them into flour, or just roast them like a potato. There's a lot of weeds, what we would consider weeds, that you can use to eat. I think we do ourselves a disservice if we don't look around and see. If, say, you just lost your job, and you're tight for money, what do you have around you already in your yard or that you can forage to help feed your family? I think it's important. That's true. I just got this new book. Oh, drats, it's out in the other room. My youngest daughter, Grace, actually told me about it. It's called Foods for Cancer or Cancer Food, something like that. It is really good. And I thought, I am going to make some of that. Yeah, there's a lot of pollens that are actually used as flowers. Like even a pine tree, in the springtime, and there's a lot of pines around you, and that yellow pollen is everywhere. It covers your car, it covers the ground. You can actually use that as flour, or use less regular flour and add that in combination with it. And so that's interesting. Can you see that my fingers are purple? I was picking Rona berries today. I scrubbed and scrubbed, but they still have this hue of purple on them. Julie says, during lockdown, I did think of foraging when things I wanted weren't available. I think it's just good to know, even if you never do it, though I would suggest you do it. But even if you don't do it, at least if you know those possibilities, I think it's good. Angie says, dandelion is a good pollinator and the leaves are good in salads. That is true. And actually, Anne, you can dig up the roots, dry them, chop them up, and make a coffee out of dandelion roots too. I don't know what it tastes like because I don't drink coffee. um, but you could use cattails, wild parsnips, um, Queen Anne's lace. People make fritters with the flowers. Burdock roots, curly dock roots, and the tops. Um, I haven't eaten this yet. I haven't tried this yet. It's supposed to be almost kind of nutty. And I thought, that's interesting. But I had 3 of them in my backyard, and I only cut one little part of one of them off because they're strong. They stay on the plant, so you can just do it whenever you want to. I agree, Henry Leslie, Vermont. Dandelion greens are great. I use the little flowers, the top part. I break the green part off the bottom, and I make dandelion jelly. I've made dandelion wine. I just think it's important for us to know what's around us, and then to look at every inch of our yard, our space, or even if you're in an apartment, can you plant things on your balcony? Can you have hydroponics inside? What can you do that could make your life more interesting, more if you needed it, you could. Anne says, I did make some dandelion root coffee. Not exactly tasty, but in a pinch. Yeah, see, and I haven't ever tried that. I do add dandelion root to different things, like different teas and stuff that I've had, but it's never by itself. And so that's interesting. Now, I think you should have your own apothecary. We were on Around the Hay Bale was on a video with Mountain Grandma, part of their collaboration this month, and we talked about apothecaries. And in the video, you see my apothecaries, my different cabinets that are filled with this stuff, because I think you need to have those things, because life is uncertain and you should always have things. Not that you should live in fear. That's not what I'm saying at all, but you should know stuff. I think learning things about herbs and fruit and vegetables and foods and flowers, it can enrich your life. It can enrich other people's lives. Diana says, we have Japanese knotweed. I feed it to my birds, but I am told when it first starts to grow, it is like asparagus. See, that's interesting. I'm going to do some research about that. Japanese knotweed. That's exciting. Anne says, yes, making our own apothecary is important. Garden says, it's 1:25 in the morning in the Highlands. Got to sleep now. Before I go, could you share with us all when you go live chat, please? Oh, every Monday night at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time is always a live chat. And so anytime you want to stop in, I know it's in the middle of the night for you, but I so appreciate that you stopped in. And yeah, that's just so exciting. Thank you very much. Get some sleep. But I appreciate it. Angie says, I have an apothecary. I keep adding to it. I started a corn silk tincture today. That's exciting because Angie got corn on the cob. I saw the picture of she's husking the corn. So why not save all the parts that are usable? You know, in Mexico, they use the outside corn silk tincture, corn silk. You can make corn jelly. You can just do so many things with just one plant. So, and that's really what I'd like you to take away from tonight. Can you grow everything you need? Yes, you may not get all the things you want, but could you grow everything you need? Could you have a chicken or two? Could you have some quail? You don't have to eat meat. I just happen to like to eat meat, and I like to have eggs. Now, I would not have butter, but maybe I could do something else to extract oils from plants and different things. That's right. Save the husk for tamales. Lots of knotweed here too, but I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, but I think sometimes we may not be a fan of certain things. Like I grew Jerusalem artichokes for several years. I love the plant. I love the yellow flowers. I just wasn't really a big fan of the rhizomes, the little potato-like things. They were okay, but it wasn't anything that I thought was exciting. But it is something I can grow here. So that's what I'd like you to take away. What can I do in my space today? Everybody, it's already past 30 minutes. I will see you later. I actually have all kinds of videos, and I have been trying to do a short every single day for 30 days. It's been happening. I will see you guys next time. Oh, Julie says, which reminds me, I have an eggplant. You don't like them, but I do. I don't like it, but I love the plant. I love what the plant looks like. It is amazing. And one of these days, I'll probably find a good recipe and I'll like the eggplant. Everybody, have a great night. I will see you next time.